Hello and welcome to the Video Gamer UK podcast. My name is Matt Lees and I'm joined by Chris Bratz.
Hi there.
Steve Burns.
Hello.
And Simon Miller.
Yo.
How are you all doing, chaps?
Really tired.
I'm a bit sleepy as well.
Yeah, I'm worried that the energy in this podcast room isn't as pumped as it usually is.
My energy is fabricated from coffee beans.
Exactly.
I was up till 3 a.m. trying to kill a mosquito.
I know. It's a horrible, sad tale.
Every night you just try and go to sleep and you hear the and you have to switch the light on and hunt it down.
Yeah, I've been there.
The big issue, attacks were just way off. A nightmare.
Man.
Anyway.
How long were you hunting this mosquito?
About an hour and a half.
Oh, God.
I feel I've been there with moths, and especially wasps. They're the worst. But I've been there. It's not a fun...
What killed me the most was the moment where I first swung for it and I missed. Mainly because I didn't have the balls to jump properly. My housemate was asleep beneath me, not literally beneath me.
In the next
and
room, yeah.
I jumped up and I went to hit it, and it just... I did a kind of soft jump because I didn't want to land on my feet hard because I knew I'd make a loud noise. And because of it, I didn't quite get the height I needed.
You whiffed it.
I whiffed it and I saw it fly off and then I lost it. And I knew at that point, I'm just like, oh God, it knows now.
It's
like the fight is on.
It knows.
It's like Carlito's Way. You had
The
your chance
hunter's
to get
become the hunted.
Yeah, it's like a video game almost.
And on that note, actually, what have you been playing this week, Simon?
I've been playing Remember Me.
I've been playing it as well.
I know, we played it together. It was a beautiful few hours. Game by Don't Nod, worst development company name in the history of video games. Capcom have picked it up. We all know the story. It's all out there. If you don't know it, just look it up. Interesting little
Well, the story is
on a lovely
interesting.
Wednesday.
Don't nod. I mean, the whole vibe I get from the studio is they're very much kind of like, yeah, screw the system, man.
That's right,
Don't
man.
nod.
They're really cool French developers.
J-Max.
Who know more J-Max, who know more than us about video games and what
Pretty
make
much,
them work,
yeah. But obviously the game got picked up by Capcom after lots of other people refused to pick it up because, well, they said...
Sony turned it down, didn't they? I mean, that's the big one, that Sony had the chance and they said, no, we don't want it.
Yeah. And the studios say that's because of the female protagonist.
I think there's probably an argument there. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe there are a few sort of publishing houses that feel that that's a problem. I personally don't. Like one of my favourite games this year was Tomb Raider.
I think Sony are quite progressive at the moment as well.
I think they are as well. They don't strike me as a company who's ever sort of shied away from anything. And after playing the game, I would imagine the reason they turned it down is because it's BAP. I think that's probably the more... I can imagine why Don't Nod would like to say, yeah, it's because of the female protagonist called Nilin. I just want to point out, why is she called Nilin? I mentioned this the other day, but now we have a bigger audience to listen to it. The two people that I can remember are Nilin and Edge. Why not Robert and Sarah? Why in 2084 have all normal names been outcasted for... No one's called Nilin. No one's ever been called Nilin. No one's ever going to be called Nilin.
Well, the language in that game really annoys me on a bunch of levels. Nilin drives you mental. The fact that the moves are called pressings.
Yeah, I hate the fact they're called pressings.
I found myself, and the problem is, it's not just a kind of like, I mean, a lot of people have picked up on, and I'll try and avoid using the word pretentious because a lot of people picked up on they really don't like that word, even though I think I am using it properly.
They really don't like the word pretentious.
I think I'm using it properly here, but anyway, I'll just go for confusing because I found the fact they called moves pressings and they had like S pressings. It meant that when...
S pressings.
Yeah, it's a kind of a compressed pressing that you drink to get a nice pick-me-up. But no, in the tutorial sections where it tells you how to play the game, these little screens pop up. It uses so much of its own language that it's really confusing.
It makes the whole point. It makes it confusing. It makes the player feel like they're not smart enough to know what's going on, when in fact it's genuinely just
so simple.
poorly put together.
Yeah.
If they had said build your own combos with the moves that you can learn throughout the game, I can understand that. But as soon as you say use art,
it's like use your press and sequences to create a customized press and combination.
And then it says, and the presence will expand as your combo hub grows. That's not words. Yeah. Like, you don't need to have this gibberish in video games. No. If your game is good enough, the English dictionary will cater for what you need.
Especially because the only actual, like, the combos are all pre-made. It's just you choose which moves go where. And it looks like, for the first couple of hours of the game, the only move difference you have is you have one move which just does damage, another move which does a slight amount of health regen. And then those are the two types of moves. I mean, there's probably more.
You make in the pressings.
Yeah.
Stop calling it. I can't.
The combat's just really bad. Basically, it looks like it's Batman combat from a distance, but when you play it, you're just like, it's not even fit to wipe its cape.
Floaty.
It's really floaty, really disconnected.
That's the problem with the whole game, though. Like, be it when she's jumping around platforming, or even when you're just kind of following her from the third person perspective, nothing feels grounded. Everything feels floaty and in the air. You never feel like you're. I mean, the architecture and the world is awesome. It's really, really well done. The music's fantastic too. But she never feels like she's a part of it.
No.
She almost feels like she's been stuck in there for no real reason.
Trying to move around the world is a nightmare.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, like you said in your video, Matt, as well, like those you have orange like indicators about where you're supposed to jump around. Good platforming games don't have that because it's obvious, but they're so intent on sort of having these cinematic camera angles, they have to have it there so you understand where you're going to go, and that just makes it feel like, you know, game by numbers, which is fine. But when the combat is bad as well, and the story isn't particularly interesting, and the dialogue is poor, and the voice acting is poor, when you kind of take a step back, you're like, this just isn't a very good game.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. It just really doesn't have anything going for it. And it's frustrating because, obviously, those who haven't seen it, we did make a video. It was quite simply called Remember Me Looks Like Balls, just because I kind of wanted to get the message out there in a direct fashion.
That's the thing. What could we have said? Remember Me Looks Bad? It means the same thing. We just spun it a little bit. So there's
just a
nothing
bit of fun.
Exactly.
But lots of people are saying, well, I'm still going to buy it because it looks original and different. It's like, actually, you know what? It isn't original or different. This is actually so old-fashioned.
Yeah,
really.
I agree.
It's Blade Runner.
When they showed the original like kind of trailers for it, the big thing I remember taking from it wasn't a combat game. It was about, you know, getting inside people's memories and changing it.
Yeah, you'd think that, wouldn't
And that's
you?
why we start the
no.
game. And what do we do first?
Sorry?
What do we do first when we get into that game?
Oh, man, there's some bizarre opening sequence about someone's stolen your memories and therefore you have to go in a machine that takes you to the center of the earth or something.
The memory machine.
And then Edge, this idiot, comes on your magic tannoy, which is never explained, and tells you to get in a coffin. And while you're in the coffin, he just explains the entire plot to you. He explains the entire plot to you while you're stuck in a coffin. He says,
Captain
look,
Exposition.
honestly, it is
It's
so
mental.
It is so bad.
When we were playing it, I just turned to someone. I was like, "They're telling us the exposition. They're literally just having a character explaining what the
Just
backstory
reading
is."
the directions.
It is.
of the
We all
script.
said this. It is like when you kind of do GCSE drama,
Yeah.
and you think, "How we don't have any props? What do you do?" I said, "Well, I'll go on stage and go. It's 1922 London.
Yeah, that's
it's
it.
on fire. There's some awful people in the world, and we're trying to get away." And then someone comes on and goes, "Oh, morning, love," and that's what it's like.
Yeah.
And you don't get any kind of that memory stuff for what, hour and a half, hour
It's
20
like
probably.
A-level memory, and there's only 4 of those in the game.
I
Apparently,
don't know if this
well,
is
no,
true.
maybe not.
I don't know if this is true, but I found an interview online. And in that interview, it did say, from the developer of the game, they're one of the producers, there are only 4 of them in the game. Now, I don't know, I can't remember where I saw it now, so I can't remember whether it's a reputable website or not. So if you are listening to this and you did that interview, I'm sorry for not sourcing you, but I genuinely can't remember.
I interviewed those guys. J Max,
J-Max.
I think he's the creative director, and he said that, and I voiced the same concerns. Everyone's really excited about the memory remixing, but at the same time, there is now a lot of combat. Given a whole, I think it was pre-E3 last year or something, combat trailer, and he said, "Well, we'd like to use the memory remixing as kind of punctuation, as the kind of set piece that you work to."
Right, yeah.
So, depending on how long the game is, that probably tallies. And I was sitting in watching you guys play it, and it reminded me a lot, and not a direct comparison, but a bit of Enslaved.
Yeah.
Where it had this, the world is very well kind of designed. It looks really good.
Yeah, it's good looking.
But it's not as good as Enslaved. But it's just like, this is kind of a wonderful world, but the actual element of you playing it isn't solid at all.
You really get a sense, though. I mean, you really get a sense that it's been a game that has been driven forward by the art design, in the fact that it feels like somebody's just gone, okay, we've made the level, and then just passed it over, rather than having that, because obviously a good game, you need to have that kind of back and forth between the artists and the designers, and this push of being like, well, no. The designers would say to the artists, well, it can't look exactly like this because it's not going to be clear where they have to go. And so clearly there's been a situation where the artists have been going, well, no, we're not going to change it. So they've gone, all right, well, we'll put in these orange markers to show you where to go. And it just feels like the whole thing, it feels like there's a massive disconnect between the art and the game. It feels like the game is just something that happens to exist in this world and not very well.
And let's not forget, and I think there's no problem with a game being, I hope that some people do like it, and I hope that some people do hate it.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing with any kind of medium, is that people fall on each side of the fence and you have nice debates about it. Usually immature debates, but we'll get there. We've got plenty of time. But the fact that one of the main places you go to is called the Leaky Brain.
Yeah.
The Leaky Brain, because it's a game about memories.
game,
Therefore, the pub has. Why can't it be called the Pig and Whistle? That's fine. Again, it's stuff like that where for me, they're the telltale signs of this isn't this kind of intelligent, deep game we were all thinking it
and
was.
That's it. And I mean, there have been a reaction for some people on the video and some pockets of the internet, especially on NeoGAF forums and stuff, where those guys can be a bit feisty at the best of times. But, they've said, why are you being so aggressive and down on this game? It's like, I'm not really. The problem is,
honest.
I've been talking about this game for a while, and I used to write previews for it when I was at OXM, and I was very positive about it because it sounded really interesting. But now I got to the point where I looked at it and played it and think this game is actually very good. It's my responsibility to then counteract that.
And that's the thing as well. We played it together. Sounds a bit fruity. We played it together, and we did our things separate of one another. And I wrote an article on it, and I was down on it. Not because you were down on it, because I saw it and I was down on the game. And I think if two people, if 100% of the people that sat down and played that game walk away going, I don't like this, there's something there. And it's only right that we're honest and open. This game comes out next month.
But it's fascinating, though, because I saw on this, on NeoGAF, the person who posted this on NeoGAF had done it in response to a thread, which I didn't know existed, which was basically, and it's an interesting point, basically saying that they should buy Remember Me just because of what it stands for, because it's a female protagonist, it's a different setting, and I don't really agree with that.
Everyone should take their money and go buy Mirror's Edge instead if you want to do that.
That's the thing, is it's like Mirror's Edge was a really good game. It was flawed slightly, but I mean, this just feels... And I don't know, a lot of people seem to be saying, yeah, but it's so different. And it's not. It's Blade Runner.
I mean, the thing, those memory sequences you mentioned, Chris, they are different. They are.
They're cool,
and they're interesting,
like
and they're almost like miniature point-and-click things where you have to go through the environment using like a video player kind of function where you rewind and find the sequences that you can alter called glitches and then decide the sequence they need to be in. Like it's a little bit formulaic, and it doesn't really require too much thinking, but they're fun. They're actually quite engaging to figure out, well, how do I piece this together? And not only that, but what will happen when I do piece these things together. But if there's only 4 of them in the game, they don't take long, 20 minutes? I would say maximum. I mean, maybe the last one will take longer.
To be honest, I was taking my time with it. I was sort of enjoying playing around with it. I probably could have done it more quickly if I wanted to.
That's the thing. To me, if that's the main gimmick of your game, A, it should be brought to the fore quicker.
Absolutely.
And B, it should be more of it, because I've played plenty of games when I've walked around platforming and doing combat. And then when I get to the thing that's interesting, if you then take that away from me quickly and then don't give it to me again, I don't understand the point of it.
I mean, just the intro... Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I don't think you need to apologise for it. If they've advertised this game as having these really cool memory sequences and there's just a load of subpar combat in between, which makes up most of the game, you've just drained all the excitement I had for Remember Me.
It did feel like, when we first started that game, I felt like... I felt my heart sink because I was quite hoping... I really hoped that the game would be cool. And it felt like a proper bait and switch when it's like, I'm underground fighting mutants.
The enemy design as well.
Why am I just punching mutants? Like, this isn't what I signed up for.
Yeah, it's like, if you're going to do that, just make the combat feel real heavy and considered, and you feel like you're a badass.
I mean, it wasn't on par with Batman, but obviously Batman is up there with the best of them. But then
that's my favourite.
I was thinking about it. It's not even as good as Sleeping Dogs, which is like a kind of Batman light, but still pretty good.
But
combat in Sleeping Dogs is awesome.
I can imagine it wouldn't be, because it just didn't feel good. It did not feel good, and I don't like. I mean, if you want to build your own combos, that's cool, but I'd much rather people just gave me a load of cool combos to begin with. I've never been a big fan of you get more as you play. I'm much like, here's all your shit, go nuts. Oh, cheers, awesome. But it's not even that. It's the fact that, if the combo mechanic was really cool, then we'd all be behind it. But it's not. It just feels like something else you have to do that isn't very good. And that's kind of, that sums up Remember Me. It's a load of little things. One really good thing that you don't get a lot of, and everything else is ideas that haven't really come together very well.
Yeah, it just feels like clearing up shop. Again, we keep saying this all the time, but it feels like another one of those games where it's like somebody's gone, well, it's pretty much done. We can't release it on next gen because it's going to look so rough.
Yeah.
Let's just get it out the door and see what happens. And I get the impression that nobody's expecting massive things from it. It's disappointing.
It is disappointing. And I want to stand behind our video and our article and say, I know it's a preview, but honesty and opinions are something that everybody can have more of. And I think, if something's not good, we should be the people saying it's not very good.
I think especially for games like that where people like me, I was really hopeful.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it, and I stuck my neck out a bit before you guys put it on. I came into the room and I was like, I interviewed the guys. They believe in the game, and from what I've seen so far, the memory remixing stuff, I was like, you know what? I'm looking forward to. I was like, you know what? I don't think it will be as bad as it. People are saying. 20 minutes later, just
we were laughing at it.
And that is more of a kind of disappointment. One thing I would say about it, though, from what I've seen, is that it's one of those games where if it does sell quite well, it could be a situation. And, this probably won't happen, but it could be a situation where they've had some good ideas and a good world. but the execution's lacking. And if they get a sequel, maybe they'll remedy that. The main example.
I don't know. I mean, I think the problem with this is it's like the issues with it are so like deeply rooted. Like the script, the characters, the story just seem terrible.
Well, that's the thing is when I'm clinging to that as kind of my hope for a sequel. But you see games where they have really good ideas and they just execute them so poorly.
Yeah.
And I mean, one time where a sequel has actually done it is the sequel to the original Hitman. Where the original Hitman had this cool world, cool character, cool idea, and it was buggy, and it turned into a shooting game. And suddenly, in Hitman 2, they went, actually, we know what we're doing now. But yeah, when all I've got for Remember Me is well, the sequel might be good. you know you're in trouble, and that I think that qualifies us coming out and saying, don't just rush out because of the idea. And any idea is powerful.
Yeah.
And even if you do get this game, if you're intent on buying it, you buy it and you like it, honestly, that's best.
Fine. That's cool.
That is the best thing that can happen. But all we can do is play the things that we're given. Exactly. And rather than just give you a list of bullet points like you do this, tell you, but here's what we genuinely think.
Because that's the worst, isn't it? When you read previews and, the unwritten rule used to be, we're, getting away from it, but the unwritten rule in video game journalism was, well, it's a preview, and no matter how much you've played, you can't really say it's bad because it might turn around. It's out next month. It's not going to turn around.
There's no point in talking about it, though. Yeah. And also, I think it's out next month. This game is out. As we record this, it is out in about 4 weeks' time. They're in, if not finished, they're in polishing stage. It's
got to be essentially going out the door in seconds of me saying this sentence.
That's the thing. And I guess that's the point I'm trying to drive at, actually, is obviously, when you do go to VideoGamer.com and you read our previews and you read our stuff like this, like, just bear in mind that we're not attacking games for fun. And that was actually the one thing with some of the feedback to this video that really kind of I found frustrating, was this idea that I was just having a go at a game
for fun,
or just to draw attention to myself. No, we're trying to help people.
Exactly, and this is probably a bad comparison because I know everybody goes nuts about it. But we got excited about GTA, and I know it's GTA and Rockstar. People, everyone does that, but no, not that at all. We got excited about GTA because it looked awesome. Therefore, we let our natural excitement as video games come. The same with this. We wanted this to be good, and it wasn't. So just as we're going to tell you GTA 5 looks really good and you should be excited, we're going to tell you that Remember Me does not look good, and you should probably take your time before you make the decision.
Well, that's it. We honestly don't want to tell people what they should and shouldn't buy, because I think that's a really ugly method that a lot of people in journalism do. You have to buy this. But
I'm the man on the mountain.
Just a case of if you see one of our videos saying caution, you read a preview on our website being caution.
We mean it.
We do mean it. We're not having a go.
It doesn't help us. It doesn't serve us in any way to just go out there and...
It often potentially gets us in lots of trouble. So we're putting our neck on the line to tell you the truth.
But bottom line is just be a little bit cautious with Remember Me.
Don't get your money out your wallet until you've seen some reviews, maybe.
Exactly. That's not a bad idea.
But anyway, we have been playing some fun stuff this week, haven't we, Chris? What have you been up to?
I'm starting to dip my toes into the universe of EVE, EVE Online, through Dust 514, which comes out next week. That's the shooter on the PlayStation Network.
Yes, it is.
And it's
fascinating, isn't it?
It's got one of the coolest ideas I've heard of in a long time. The guys at CCP have obviously just sat down and said, wouldn't it be cool if this crazy online universe we've created, when you're battling over these planets, that you could have people on the ground fighting for you? And so they did it, and I applaud that. How good Dust 514 turns out being, I'm still not sure. But what a cool idea.
The way I don't know how much they've implemented for the first wave, but I heard about it being stuff like you could have somebody hiring a small army to go and attack a planet base, but then you could have another actual ship controlling EVE, which starts bombarding the planet to kill them.
Pretty good, isn't it?
You fight over the orbit of the planet, and if you've got ships that are allied with the guys on the ground, you can bombard. And it's supposed to be devastating when that happens.
I imagine.
And I just love that's a possibility.
It seems insane. And they also talked about being almost like assassination missions as well, of being able to I don't know if when they'll add that, because that sounds mental.
That is cool. I think the idea is great. I think it's really, really good. The execution, I don't know if it's going to work, but it is. So nice to see a developer actually trying to do something different rather than your kind of same old.
Succeed or fail, I'm really excited about it.
Is this because it's one of the most important games in the world?
Don't be so facetious.
That's harsh.
I'm only joking around.
The idea is very, very interesting, and I don't think they'll get it right this time, but I think it's a kind of an important step. But the thing, my problem would be is that I can't organise 3 other players for Left 4 Dead. So,
Yeah, exactly.
You know, for 50 or however many. In
Such a good
so,
point.
however, it does seem like one of those steps where you get asymmetrical multiplayer or whatever, which is essentially what it is. And I just think that if it really takes off, this is what I mean by important. If it does take off in years to come, people will look back and go, "Oh, Dust was trying these things," and maybe if it fails hard, someone will look at it and go, "Okay, this is what we do."
I wouldn't be surprised if Destiny's doing something similar.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think Destiny's got a lot. I know Bungie always talk about their MMO stuff, but I think Destiny's going to come out and be really heavily dripped in that kind of
Because I think you're right though, Steve. I think what worries me about Dust is the idea that it's like what you need is that Eve needs them. Eve needs the shooter players more than the shooter players need them.
Yeah.
So it's like you need to do this. You need to have like loads of FPS players who are willing to come and do it. But it's like, what's in it for them? Like, what's in it for the
when
people?
they're rocket jumping and team killing.
Yeah, it kind of feels like I need all these people to come and help me do this. It's like, well, why should I?
It's almost like
because it'll be cool.
You just want them to like license like the Halo 4 multiplayer or something, don't you? Just to encourage people to then go and do it.
I think there is a little bit more of an incentive on Eve's side of thing than Dust.
Actually, no, of course, because you can make money, which is worth real money. So actually, if you're a good FPS player in Dust, then you can.
Yeah, I don't think they've implemented that quite yet. That is one of the grand ideas. One of the things I'm excited about with Dust is that Eve just had their 10th anniversary, the big fan fest and everything. They're talking about Dust having a 10th anniversary. They want it to continue, which you'd imagine means onto next gen platforms at some point.
Yeah.
And they want to keep it going alongside Eve. And they're a team with enough money to do that. And they're one of the few that have the universe and the resources to actually go for a really stupid
And actually,
idea.
like in terms of kind of attracting that hardcore shooter market, like the old school guys and the sort of people who used to get into Counter-Strike, as developers, they might be the perfect kind of playground for them. Because I love how distant the Eve guys are. I love when all these scandals happen in Eve, and it's like these guys just stole like £50,000 worth of real money from these guys. What are you going to do about it? And they're like, we're not going to do anything about it. It's not our problem. Like,
I'm not the borough.
yeah, they're just like, we're not the bank. Like, because they're detached from the system. When things happen, they're just like, it's not our responsibility. Because it's like a
Eve is a
self-contained
very
world.
strange beast. I don't really understand it, if I'm completely honest.
Not many people do. I mean, I don't. I've been talking with some guys much more experienced with Eve and Dust. We're going to do a bit of a video feature on that.
I'm looking forward to that. Yeah, you're kind of just chatting to some of the
I'll watch
experts
that.
so
just
you
being
can
like,
find out about it.
So, Eve, what's all that about?
What is it?
Yeah, but just listening to how passionate these guys get about those stories. And for a lot of people, Eve is a game that's more interesting to read and hear about than play. And I'm definitely one of those. So I love sitting down with these people and just kind of chatting about it and hearing their big ideas for what Dust could eventually be 10 years down the line. And yeah, I'm... This is one of those videos I'm really excited to be working on just because...
Yeah. When's that likely to be online?
It should be Tuesday when Dust goes...
Why is it called
Wicked.
Dust 514?
Well, the 514, it's going out on the 14th of May. So, obviously, the American version, 514.
Yes, on the 17th for us. Thanks.
Yeah.
You've ruined the title.
That's not real. That's not true. They didn't work the release date into the title.
I think that just happened to be
Okay, right.
later down the line, which I think
And
is
Dust?
I'm not entirely sure, actually.
Okay.
It's Eve.
On a postcard.
Why Eve, I guess?
Because it's like a garden, Eden,
and
Evedon.
universe.
In space. Well, I suppose it is like Garden of Eden, isn't it? New World. And actually, they pulled that one off. I reckon when somebody was designing it, they were like, oh, it's because it's like the Garden of Eden. There'll be a whole new world with an ecosystem and an economy. And people are like, yeah, whatever, dude. Make
Get
your
out my
space
office.
game.
And then they went and made Remember.
And now they
No,
went.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
And they made it. Oh, I'm excited by that, actually.
I'm excited. I like the concept. I don't really get Eve, but I'll definitely... I will use your video,
Yeah,
Chris,
I've got the video
to
just
get
for you,
involved.
Simon.
Exactly, yeah.
And then you can be like, oh, well, the thing about Eve is...
I'll be one of those guys with a pipe.
Yes.
I know all about Eve.
I know about it. I watched a video on the internet, actually.
Therefore, I am more qualified than you.
Mm-hmm.
Fun times. Actually, something I played, I can't talk about exactly yet, but I can briefly say that I tried the new Borderlands 2 DLC, the final one.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. I'm allowed to tell you that the name of it is like Tiny Tina's Dungeon something. And,
Is it Dungeon something? I'd much prefer if it was.
it's not, but
That's a shame.
I can't really tell you about the general gist of it, but it's really cool. It's
Yeah.
one of those things that sort of revived my faith in Gearbox and revived my faith in video games a little
it
bit.
would kind of... I mean, if you look at Gearbox, as long as it's their own IP, they seem to do it justice. When it's not their IP or something is given to them, then they kind of seem to flake a little bit.
Well, actually,
That
I had a
seems to be
really
the-
interesting chat with the vice pres of vice pres. I keep talking.
Vice
like-
Prez, baby.
Stop abbreviating these words.
I know. Ever since I made that Lara
I know,
Croft Gap Year
it
video, it's sort of like ingrained itself in my brain, and I can't stop doing it. Totes, babes. But yeah, I had a really interesting chat with him, and again, I probably can't talk about that yet. But keep an eye on the website because we will put up a story about that. I'm
We've
sure.
got something going up tomorrow, right? About something.
Yeah,
right?
tomorrow. Well, I can
There
talk
you
about
go.
that. I
Oh,
know.
we can, okay.
That's the new character class stuff. So yeah, the new character class for Borderlands 2. We can have a little video about that tomorrow. That's sort of known. He's called Krieg, and he's a psycho.
Yep.
And he's got a big axe.
Nice.
It's really fun. Really fun. I'll explain why it's really fun and about the skill trees and stuff tomorrow. So do keep an eye on the website for that. But yeah, I mean, they've released a new character class for it, which is again just awesome fun.
Yeah.
And the new DLC is awesome. I think Gearbox are in an interesting situation. And again, what I'll probably actually do a video about, instead of just talking about the DLC, when the embargo breaks towards the end of the month, I might just do one about Gearbox because they're really weird. It's they're in an odd position right now, and they could either make or break.
That Homeworld thing going back a few weeks is interesting because if you want to take an IP that you're not allowed to screw up under pain of death, good grief if you picked the right. You think it was bad with Aliens? You go screw up Homeworld.
I think
and
they know
you
that.
see what happens.
I think they know that. I mean,
Yeah.
the vice president, guys, I can't remember his name. I'm so terrible. But his comments when I asked him about that sort of thing were really interesting. And obviously we'll put them on the site. But also it was almost his... Not just his comments, it was his facial reaction. I could tell there was a tangible sense of embarrassment about Aliens.
That's good.
And
There should
that is
be.
really good.
Yeah, there should be.
And because
Same
often
with Duke Nukem. It's not really their fault, Duke Nukem.
Well, Duke Nukem, there didn't seem to be much remorse. It was
No.
like Randy. People want hamburgers made of shit. But I feel like they've maybe learned their lesson a bit more this time.
Well, that'd be interesting. I'd say I think as long as Gearbox, like I said, I thought the Brothers in Arms games were okay. I thought the first one was okay. Then they lost their way a bit. So I just think as long as they're doing their own stuff, maybe that's what they've learned. Maybe that's what they've learned. I don't know. We'll find out.
Who knows? What have you been playing, Steve?
I've been playing something very up to date. It's Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, but on a Vita though, so
yeah,
that
I was
counts.
playing it.
Resident Evil.
Yeah, I bought it because I've been traveling a lot and just playing it on trains, and it kind of reaffirmed my belief that Resident Evil 3 is in fact, I think it's a better game in that it speaks to what I want from Resident Evil a bit more. But I was playing it, I was like, this is really accomplished. Like, there's, you get the A and B scenarios, so you complete the game, and it's like, you've not completed anything. Like, what? And then you go and play like the real scenario with the other character. And that gives you the true ending, and it remixes where the items are and where you come into the world and all that sort of stuff. And it's such a satisfying game, Resident Evil 2. I actually think it falls away towards the end when you go into the standard. No, I'm in the sewers. Now I'm in the lab. Oh, there's always a lab. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I was thinking, I was so excited for this coming out when I was a kid, and this is how excited I was. I actually thought
You've
to
been
myself,
playing this game when you were a kid.
no. But I actually thought to myself, this was a genuine concern. What if I die before it comes out? I was so excited. Because Resident Evil, the original, was my favourite game. Like, I was,
oh my God, what if I die?
I read everything. Like, if I had a little like.
What if I die?
I was 14 or something. I was
You'd have
like,
much bigger problems.
well, no,
You don't when you're 14.
when I was 14
I guess,
in the summer, like, oh man, I can't wait, But I was playing it, and I was like, and I completed it in 2 hours and 44, which is actually quite slow.
Not when you were a kid.
No, the other day.
Yeah.
And it's a wonderful game. I do think it falls away, and I do think Resident Evil 3 is better because Resident Evil 3 for me delivered more on the promise of you'll be running around a city, because the only time you're actually running around a city in Resident Evil 2 is the start. You run into a police station, then you're in a sewer, then you're in a lab. In Resident Evil 3, there's running battles. It's more like Left 4 Dead. Like you go, you go back to the police station. You start coming out of a hotel. You run into, like a newspaper office and have to jump out of there. You're on a cable car and a clock tower. That's why it's my favourite. And you're always being chased by by Nemesis. And it feels more like a Terminator movie. It feels like you're on the run. Yeah. Whereas in Resident Evil 2, I just thought to myself, why don't I just kind of hang out in this police station for a little while?
Quite safe now.
Yeah. It's like, I just stay here, But again, it made me think about Resident Evil 6. And I just thought, the gunplay is so satisfying in Resident Evil 2. Even though it's pretty static, you raise gun and fire gun. But like, it's just so good. All the elements come.
6, man.
But and then I was like,
I still haven't played Resident Evil 6. Is it worth me playing?
first half of the Leon campaign, yes.
I played the first like 8 hours of that for a preview. It was one of the last previews I wrote for OXM, and I absolutely slated it. I split the preview up into 3 parts for each campaign and explained why they all, in my mind, failed fundamentally to do anything good. I hated it. I thought
There you
it
go,
was
Capcom.
appalling. I thought it was a horrible mess and a perfect example. It was like the first time I saw this was Prototype 2. This weird thing of games being almost polished too much and not having anything good underneath, and left me feeling really, really cold. But then Resi 6 felt like the absolute epitome of that, in the fact that they tried to make a game that was 50 hours long, and that's what they'd gone in to do.
That's what I don't understand about Resident Evil 6. Why is there so much to it? Why?
Because $60.
But no games seem to care about that. So why did Capcom?
Well, no, I think they do, though. This is the problem. Actually, I guested on the weekend on a podcast called Gonzo Planet, I think, it was a specific, really kind of in-depth discussion about Bioshock Infinite.
Yeah.
It's kind of retrospective. And one of the things I was saying is like, I liked Bioshock Infinite, but I always wish it hadn't been a big-budget AAA game. I think if it had been a smaller game, a downloadable one, maybe it would have been better. Like, it might not be as pretty, but maybe more focused and less kind of fluffed. But I don't know. I mean, that's a different discussion. But with this in particular, it's so obvious that it's literally like, the problem, it all boils back to retail of going, how do you justify people having to spend $60, 40 quid?
No multiplayer and stuff like that. Yeah.
You need to give them a lot. And it just means that they had like 4 or 5 studios working on Resi 6, right? Making different bits. And what you get is this patchwork monstrosity that doesn't really feel coherent, doesn't feel cohesive, and just doesn't have any flavour.
It feels like one of those essays you used to write at uni where you'd have said everything that you wanted to say in 500 words.
Yeah, and then you just ramble.
1,500 left. You're like, well, my conclusion's 300 words, I reckon. But that's how it felt to me.
Yeah.
And it's just like, now I've got to say the same thing again, but in a different way. And it's just not cohesive. And I think if you look at GTA 5, they're like, right, so we're going to have 3 characters. You know, there's a similarity there, there's 3 characters. But instead of just, partitioning it, they're in the same world. They operate under the same rules with the same, well, not exactly the same, but essentially the same abilities. And Resident Evil 2 did that really well. 2 characters, A and B scenario. You finish one, you go into another character's B where elements from A have influenced B. Whereas in this one, it's just like, and they did try and stitch the worlds together.
Yeah, you got like Leon's bit isn't scary. Action dude Chris, just like stupid gun stuff. And then the third guy, he can kick things. It's like, this is rubbish.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, what have you been doing? What really annoys me about Resi 5 and Resi 6, and I enjoyed Resi 5 co-op.
I like Resi 5,
I liked it. It
I
was
really liked it
nonsense. I loved it when people said it was racist, and it wasn't. It was just massively ignorant.
Oh, yeah, but I just thought that it's so much fun to shoot things in that game. I just really
It's
enjoy shooting
enjoyable
things
bollocks.
in the head. I liked Resident Evil 5 a
Wesker
lot.
was in it.
No, I did.
Oh.
I had a lot of fun playing with my housemate co-op.
Yeah.
It was nonsense, but it was good fun.
That's the thing, I enjoyed it. I couldn't actually remember what actually happened, but I remember going through it, and it's one of the few games I finished it, and I got unlimited Magnum ammo. I spent that game shooting things in the head, and I was like, this is great fun. This is really, really good fun. But I haven't played 6, and I don't know why, and I don't really want to after this
It's too
conversation,
big.
I'm honest.
I don't want to sit down a game. It's like a massive turn-off. It's like somebody, it's like being on a first date with someone and saying, obviously after my 5th marriage, and you just go, what?
Well, I've got to go.
There's something about it. When somebody goes, do you want to play this game? What is it, Resident Evil 6? Oh, I love Resident Evil 4, and 5 is all right. What's it like? And they go, well, it's 50 hours long. And I just go, get out.
No,
It
one-
doesn't need to be that long. What was Resi 5, like 10? And Resi 4 was about 12, 14? That's fine.
I mean, especially because you look at Resi 6, which is just like fluffed up like a souffle. And then Resi 4 is not a bad, think of a bit in Resident Evil 4 where it sags a bit. And I can't think of one. It's just like...
Even bits I don't like in Resident Evil 4, like when you first enter the castle, because I was like, oh, brilliant, here's another mansion. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, no, there's a dragon breathing fire. It's a mechanical dragon, don't worry about it. Or now I can go and shoot targets with the merchant for, bolt caps, or shoot bolt caps for. Or, I finished Resident Evil 4. Oh, wait a minute, what's this? Oh, this little sub-game looks good. Oh, the Mercenaries. I'll play that.
This is brilliant.
Oh, wait a minute, that's better than every other fucking game ever made. And it's just some freebie on the end of the best game ever made.
But it was just so refined. There was no fluff. There was no waffle.
Totally lean. Just run, go, and you just go on to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
I wonder if it's just publishers listening to too much on the hardcore fanboys on forums saying we want more, when actually I guess most people just want a good game, right? I don't know.
I don't know. It's weird.
It seems so excessive in comparison. It's not even just a little bit more. They've just tripled the game.
Yeah.
Kick the arse out of it.
How did they end up
3
there?
games in one. It's like a fucking JML deal or something. Like, this deal is not available in shops.
I will play it still, though. That's weird. I mean, that's the power of a brand, right? I know, obviously, I'm not that excited about it because it's been almost a year and I haven't played it.
Yeah.
But I still will eventually.
That's the problem.
play that
Is
game.
you'll play it, but they won't get any money from it. By the
That's
time
true.
you do,
Yeah.
it's a
Well, I'll
problem.
borrow it from someone. To be
Played the
honest.
demo. I played the demo and realised I just wouldn't enjoy it, and I missed all of this.
It just felt really locked in the past. The bit at which I literally just glared into the eyes of Resident Evil 6 and said, "Fuck you," was at the start of Leon's
Resi 6
campaign.
blinked.
I did. I literally, I think I stood up and swore at the game. Was because I've just been playing The Walking Dead before that, which was really obviously just very, very, very different sort of game. But I kind of thought, okay, back into it. I'm in the zombie mindset. I am Leon Kennedy, a man who has survived zombie-type apocalypses twice, right? He's been faced with this situation twice already. That's pretty rare. I can't think of anyone else who's had that on his CV. However, as soon as things get fruity and there are dead people and there are clearly zombies, I'm walking past these corpses on the floor, and my instant reaction as somebody who has faced a zombie situation many times myself is to shoot them in the head. So I see a corpse on the floor and I go, right, shoot it in the head. Shoot in the head, the bullet goes through the head, through into the floor. It does not even register that is an object in the world, and I end up wasting loads of my minimal ammo doing this because I keep instinctively shooting corpses in the head thinking it's going to get up. But then, of course, it gets to a point in the story where it goes, yes, they are zombies now. They are. So you walk back through that area and they all get up and start clawing at your feet. And it's just like, just because...
That's video games. Isn't it, for you?
It's properly, it's like, it's video games at their worst of going, we want to make this scenario pan out like this. Do I get an input into this scenario? No.
But even
No,
Resi 2,
it's going to happen like this.
Resi 2, there are zombies on the floor, and you know that they're not dead because they don't have the blood coming out from underneath them. It's just a shadow. So you just go bang, and it goes, ooh, another 2 shots, and you go, yeah, see ya. Walk past it. You don't, or you know.
Resi 6 just wants to hold your hand. It's like even the way that the camera...
Look at this!
Yeah.
Ah, zombies! Ah! I know.
I know.
But that's
It
a
was
lot
so
of
obvious.
games, though, isn't it?
It is.
That is games. That is, for whatever reason, why they like to do.
A friend of mine has been replaying Deus Ex, the original, and he has been blown away by it. Because I don't think he played it originally, but he kind of is, picked it up recently, and he's like, I can't believe this game. And Deus Ex is obviously an extraordinary example, but he's like, I cheated to get off the first level, and then 2 hours later I'm speaking to someone, and they said, well, we've not forgotten that you didn't do your job on the island. And he went, what?
It's amazing, yeah.
I remember in Deus Ex as well, while we're talking about it, first time I played it, was it Anna, the woman?
Yeah.
I was getting so pissed off with her. So I just went, oh, fuck you. I shot her in the head and killed her.
Yeah.
And I thought it would just be like, game over.
No.
And it just went, okay. I was like, this is amazing. And then gun
No game's ever
went,
done it since.
went, you're dead now.
No.
It's like, oh, this is the greatest game ever made.
It's so good. And that's the thing is why it seems like games have become more obsessed with showing you things. And I think it's like maybe in the same way that with Hollywood, they have like 3D artists who are purely, they end up making films so they can give the 3D art world work. So they have loads of CGI in films just to keep these people in jobs. I wonder if the same thing happens in games with cutscenes and sequences.
I do always get upset when if somebody I'm with dies, it means game over. I hate
rubbish.
that. I mean, some games it probably should be like that, but not all games. I want a little bit of freedom. That's freedom to me. I don't mind if you take me down a linear path, but if my mate dies, let him die.
Yeah.
Let me carry on. Have a branching path. Like there must be some way to do that. That's interesting.
It's even like I remember talking to one of the Halo guys, Halo Fest last year.
Yeah,
Don't ask
Halo
me
Fest.
why I was at Halo Fest. I don't even know about Halo. I do now after fucking 3 days
Fest.
of 20 hours.
Halo's a pretty cool guy.
He's really cool, man. My favourite Master Chief is the green one. But there's this bit where you could see, and they talked about how they've made this amazing ship, this section, the ship blowing up in the sky in the distance and it collapsing. And they realised that they put it in such a position that like 9 out of 10 times people didn't even see it because it was just something happening in the silhouette of the distance and people were having a gunfight. And they realised they spent so long doing it and that like nobody was going to see it. But you know what? They just thought, screw it. Because some people will see it.
And it'll be more important to
and
them.
it'll be more
because-
important to them. Whereas Resident Evil 6, what it kept doing was it kept going, look, and it kept literally forcibly, without any warning, pointing the camera at stuff as if to go, look at this explosion we made. And I'm just like, I don't give a shit. Like, stop showing me helicopters crashing and stuff. I'm trying to shoot things. And
we all know helicopters crash in games. That's all they do.
It's this fundamental disregard for the player. It's like, you're just here on a roller coaster. Like, come with me. What do you want to do? I don't care what you want to do. Come with me. Look at this explosion we made.
We know best.
And like Resi 2. So you start the game and it says, go on then. It doesn't say, oh, you've got to go and get this item and put it in here. Like, I played it on live stream, fucking rubbish at it, because I haven't played it in years. And I was like, I've completed this game in like under an hour and a half or something crazy before. Don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Oh, you've got a precinct key. What door does it open? Go and work it out. You know, you've got a gun. It's got 10 bullets. Don't shoot all the bullets. Well, will I get any more? No.
But you can go back further than that. Zelda, the ultimate game. Here's a sword. Go do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's it. You can go to the last dungeon first if you want.
That feeling of just being able to do whatever you're like, that's why I love GTA. You get off the boat, you do a little bit of tutorial, you're like, oh, here's how to drive a car. And then it goes, fuck off then. You're like, oh, I can get in the plane, I can fly, I can swim, I can do what I want.
I would play a game straight away if at some point it went, fuck off. Mission, fuck off then. All right.
They could actually do that in GTA, couldn't they? They could have a character that goes, fuck off. And you're like, okay.
I'm surprised they don't do that in Blood Dragon, actually. Isn't that the type of game that would just...
Oh, while we're talking about Blood Dragon, this is the thing that irritated me about it. I believe we talked about it, Matt. Is that it's like, hey, we're taking the piss out of tutorials. You still got the tutorial, and it's hand holding, but with you
can't have your cake and eat it.
Exactly, with an aside to, hey, but we're taking the piss. It's like, I know that due to various like technical requirement checklists now, you have to have that sort of shit or something like that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the platform holder goes, how will the people that play our games know how to fire a gun? But at the same time, rubbish.
Yeah, they make jokes about it, like, oh, this is a stupid tutorial pop-up, lol, and then goes, hold RB to cook grenades. It's like, well, no, you can't do both. You can't have your
If
cake
that
and eat
game
it.
had just started with the words "fuck off," you would have loved it. I know you would have loved
9.
that start.
9.
Yeah.
Should have been. Someone in our comments said, "Oh, I didn't like it for because it was too stupid." And I was being down. I was like, "No, it's not stupid enough."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the impression I get.
That's the problem with it, and it's just Far Cry 3, which is obviously good, but it's just reskin. It's like the old total conversions used to get. You know, for PC games, where it's like, now you play as X-Men characters. It's still the same game, but now Wolverine's got a gun for some reason.
That's it. It feels like it pulls punches. And that's why I'm dead excited about this DLC for Borderlands 2, because it feels like it just goes, this is what it is. If you don't like it, screw off. Because it's just like, it's pure. And I like that. But yes, we should probably jump on to some of the news. Have we got any news items very briefly?
We need Dave, don't we?
He's at home, like, doing terrible
He's
things.
getting
No, he's just on holiday.
He's just getting achievements.
Yeah.
We know
No,
that.
that's true.
Oh, God,
Terrible
what's he been
achievements.
playing? I now feel like we need a soft fade. Like, like cuts to like Dave in his pajamas going, oh, Dead Island Riptide. Oh, zombies.
Playing Sneak King on an imported
it probably is,
360.
yeah.
I love that he knows it's wrong, though, because you say, what have you been playing?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, oh, I didn't want to tell you.
He's like a drug addict recovering.
Yeah.
He's well in touch with his problem.
Dead Island is methadone.
Yep, pretty much.
No, don't say that. Get that on the box.
They'll only put it on the box.
VideoGamer.com.
Okay, so the big news this week, I guess, is EA have got themselves a handy little deal.
This is the best news. And if you don't think it's the best news, then you're wrong.
So they've got
There you go. Screw your opinion.
So they've got the exclusive rights to develop and publish
Almost exclusive.
Yeah.
Right?
Star Wars games.
There's mobile and tablet games
Mobile
gone
and
to
tab-
Disney.
There
Is
we
it?
are, of course. But that's, yeah. What
No,
do
that's
you
really
think about
cool. That's really, really cool. I mean, they got the
People-
studios to do it. Hopefully that means we'll get proper KOTOR 3 now.
that? You've got DICE, Visceral,
Oh, my days.
BioWare. No,
Yes,
I think we've got two
precisely,
about.
all right. Now, Steve has just looked through the looking glass and seen
Yes.
the
I
reality.
wasn't listening. What did
DICE,
you say?
Frostbite.
DICE, Frostbite. Oh, well, they've already said.
Blowing up the...
They've already said that DICE are going to work on a Battlefield-style Star Wars game.
It's over.
So you Battlefront, won't it?
I'm resigning.
Battlefront, but
Video
not
games just became amazing.
Yes, precisely.
I am more excited, just to play devil's advocate a bit, and because I mean it, that BioWare will actually now make KOTOR 3. Not
Yeah.
I'm
weird
with you.
KOTOR MMO that doesn't work properly and cost $100 million and nobody played.
Simon,
But
I'm
it's
with
got
you.
talking in it. It's got 500 hours of talking that nobody will ever listen
I
to.
like the Old Republic. I played it. It was good, but fuck you. I want KOTOR 3.
Yeah.
That's what I want. KOTOR 2, which is still broken.
I'd be happy
I'll
if they went back
download
and just
whatever.
fixed KOTOR 2, yeah.
Yeah, you still, for the record, I've said this on so many other podcasts, but not this one. I played KOTOR 2 backwards compatible on my Xbox 360.
Doesn't work.
You can't do the last 2 hours of the game. That is
what?
a bug, and they know this, Microsoft, because I rang them and told them, and they said, "Yeah, we know, we don't do about it." And they said to me, this is years ago. They said to me, but to be honest, like, not a lot of people complain, so we're just gonna leave it. I've never finished KOTOR 2, you assholes, because I couldn't go through the 60 hours of doing it again.
Well, if it makes anything any better, I've heard from lots of people that coders looked at KOTOR 2 and there was loads of stuff that was supposed to be in the ending that they just didn't implement because they
Is that
ran
why
out
it
of time.
screws up then?
Maybe. I think it was apparently when people read all of the dialogue and stuff that was in the game, apparently it was awesome, but they just never had time to put it in.
It's a great game, Code. Some of the characters in KOTOR 2
Obsidian
are
are really good at making amazing games that they never quite managed to finish. That's their top trump ability. It's a great shame.
Alpha Protocol.
Yeah.
So good.
Even New Vegas.
Yep.
I really despise the fact that everyone thinks that New Vegas isn't as good as Fallout 3 because of the bugs, because it's like the bugs weren't their fault. That was Bethesda's engine.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it was partly their fault.
I was going to say they love bugs.
They are really good at bugs.
But they're so ambitious. That's the thing, though.
I love Obsidian. I think they're amazing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I want a proper sequel to KOTOR. Like, I want a proper in that canon. I want all that stuff. I want characters to come back. I want all of that stuff. I want DICE to do a Battlefront type game.
God.
Because as you said the other day, Matt, there's actually no one else on the planet that could do it as well as that.
Yeah.
It's just not. There is no game that is like Battlefield that is done better than that. Therefore, all you got to do is reskin it. That's the power of Star Wars, is that you get that license, get the characters,
Angry
get
Birds
the
Star
worlds.
Wars.
But if you put that into anything, all of a sudden it becomes more interesting.
DICE are a studio that realise dreams, and there are so few that do.
Oh, my days.
No, seriously, right? Hear me out on this. I know this sounds ridiculous, but hear me out on this, right? Because the thing about DICE is, when I was a kid, right, you imagine what would be the ultimate sort of war game, right? And you think,
Call of
well...
Duty?
No, because you think, well, you could be like, you'd have obviously, like if you're a kid, you'd be like, it's a massive map, right? You're a man, but you can get in tanks and you can drive them, but you can get into all the different seats of the tank and do different things. You can also get to helicopters, you can get to planes, and all this stuff, right, that we all hoped video games would be like when we were growing up. Mostly, they haven't been. We're still playing exactly the kind of games that we used to play, just shinier and nicer. However, DICE are not. They don't compromise. And they know what game they want to make, and they make it. And they do insane stuff to make sure they make it. And I was saying to you, Simon, the other day, it's like DICE making Star Wars. It's like, oh, right, do you want a game where you can be like a Hoth dude, but then you can get into an X-Wing and fly in space and fight in space and then maybe fly down again and then get on a speed bike? It's like, yeah, that seems to me like the sort of game that DICE will probably make.
Yeah, it's true.
And that makes my head explode with excitement. I said this when LucasArts died. Everyone's like, oh, LucasArts dead. It's like, yeah, LucasArts died 10 years ago. Now we're going to get good Star Wars games, and fuck me, we're going to get a good Star Wars game. At least one.
Let's be fair to LucasArts. Did you guys see the leaked footage of Battlefront 3 or the stuff they've been working on?
Oh, yeah, it was awesome.
That idea of
But that
being
wasn't
able to-
them. That was somebody else.
Well, the idea, yeah, but still, the footage was cool, man. Did you see the transition between ground combat and air combat?
DICE will do it better.
Well, as long as they do it something like that,
I
I will be very
definitely-
happy.
Argue with him, Chris. Go on.
Come on, do it.
Go
do
on.
it.
No, it's fine. I agree. There isn't really. I want them to make a good Battlefront game as
No,
well.
they will. I mean, that's the thing. DICE is one of those studios. I mean, I still have a massive hard-on for Mirror's Edge. I know it had its problems, but I mean, I loved Mirror's Edge.
Yeah.
Like, to the point where I didn't realise how much I loved it until I realised I've been playing it solidly for about 6 months, whenever it came out, 2010.
Well, they love it as well.
They do, but I think that's one of the reasons I loved it, is you could feel how much love had gone into that game. And it's so Moorish. I don't think I've ever played a game that felt more like drugs than Mirror's Edge. I could not stop playing it.
They'll make it. They will make it.
What, a new Mirror's Edge
Yeah.
game? I mean, I hope so.
They absolutely will. It might not be for another 5 years, 10 years,
But one day, yeah.
every time I've been to DICE, their walls are still covered in pictures of Faith, and
Yeah.
they all wear Mirror's Edge t-shirts
Oh, I
and
love
have
it.
Mirror's Edge posters everywhere.
The
They all
story
love
was
it.
garbage. Don't get me wrong. I skipped
Yeah.
every cutscene, but I mean, that's why they will do this. They will do whatever they do with Star Wars. Should probably. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if it's just DLC for Battlefield 4 to begin with, and then they build it out of that. But you got that BioWare. I know it's kind of all changed at BioWare, but you've got all the engine. Right?
Yeah.
Well, you've got not the engine, but you've got all the materials right there. Just do it. And I don't know if Visceral are going to get involved.
I'm not sure about
But-
BioWare at the moment. It's going to be make or break.
They're
with
in
Dragon Age
change.
3, right?
I'm so excited about it. Well, yeah. I mean,
I'm excited, but I'm also...
to A3. Mike Laidlaw, producing the game, tweeted it's going to be at E3, and I blew up a little bit. So now I have to go and.
I
Well,
really
I-
hope it's cool. I
think
really
it will
hope
be.
it's cool. I
I
think
think
they
it
know
will
it
be.
has to be, because if it's not, then Dragon Age as a franchise is dead.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to hit a home run with this one.
Yeah.
Because I like Dragon Age 2, but it wasn't the game I wanted it to be. Therefore, this one has to
And
be.
it's a series that's so reliant on those hardcore fans, and
Yeah.
the hardcore fans were really unhappy.
Yeah, a lot of them were. That's true. That's very, very true.
So I think that... But also, I hope they don't end up making it too homogenous to try and please them. But
Also-
that's a question.
go on,
Actually.
Chris.
Sorry, I was just going to say, if they've picked up this licensing deal, will it affect some of those existing franchises? Will Dragon Age 3? Will there be more after that if they can put that team onto a Star Wars game?
But BioWare, they have so many different
Yeah.
fractions now. I think they'll be fine. I know that they're the Edmonton bunch that do the Dragon Age games, and they're completely removed from even the guys that do Mass Effect. So I think they'll be fine. Before we go off the Star Wars point as well, I bet you any money that Visceral are finishing off 1313. That's what I would say right now.
Ooh.
I think that they will have bought that, because it finished apparently pretty much. Give it to Visceral. Look, just finish off what needs to be done. What else is Visceral doing?
I don't know
Dead
how
Space
finished.
4?
I don't know how finished 1313 was, and also 1313, the tech, the way it works, has been made by ILM, so it's quite different to the way that
True.
the games work. So I don't know.
Okay, so maybe it doesn't come out as it was intended, but I bet you a version of 1313 comes out from Visceral.
Yeah.
Would be my gut. That's my gut feeling. I don't know if that's
sounds
true or
very
not.
No,
reasonable.
it does sound feasible. Yeah. I just think there's a lot of people who say how much of 1313 have they actually made, because I saw it.
Or maybe
I'm one
not
of the
then,
few
yeah.
people in the world who actually got to see it firsthand, and even what I saw was just them proving that the bit they showed at E3 was real time.
Yeah.
So apart from that, it was concept art. So a lot of people have speculated that actually maybe they hadn't really made much more of the game than
Maybe
that.
that's the reason.
And it was sort of a gamble to try and
Maybe that's one of the reasons LucasArts got closed, because Disney looked at it and went, well, this is still 2 years away. That's all you've got. See you later.
Yeah,
Don't know.
quite possibly, to be
Who
honest.
knows?
But,
Who knows?
I mean, yeah, obviously, I think that it is fair to comment as well, like especially with some of the stuff lately that EA have been doing with microtransactions and downloadable games. Of course, we're going to get Yoda's Bejeweled Blitz bollocks.
I don't have a problem with that, because I've always said this: if you don't like it, don't buy it, and they'll stop doing it. It's
Yeah.
as simple as that. Vote with your wallets. You know.
Problem is, people like Real Racing 3 is massively controversial, but it makes more money than God. So, yeah, we can't really argue against it. in a real
I've
way.
always been like that. Like, regardless whether I like something or not, if I put my business head on, if I'm a businessman and I release something and it does well, then I'll do it again.
Yeah.
That's just, the borderline basic knowledge. So if you don't like it, don't do it. But I would play that game you just said. What was it called? Yoda's.
It's called Yoda's Bejeweled Blitz Bollocks.
I'd probably play that.
I play that.
If you put bollocks in the title of anything, I'll probably at least check it out. I download the free version.
Super Bollocks. The Revenge.
Exactly. But I mean, well, we've got a film with Yoda, haven't we, coming out at some point from Disney? So they'll be able to film tie-in, I'm sure.
Yeah. But no, just, yes, DICE, Star Wars.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
They can make, that's the thing, they'll have so much credence from that, they can make a lot of shite and no one's really going to be that bothered.
Oh, man. Can you imagine getting into
I'm excited,
ATAs?
Matt's about this. It's
Honestly,
amazing.
like, seriously, guys,
Let's think about this for a second.
come on, right? You're on your feet, running around. You've got a little grappling hook. You grapple onto the bottom of an AT-AT. It drags you up to it. You open up the shaft. Beg your pardon. And you climb inside and you kill the guy. You stab him in the back, the guy who's driving it, and then you drive it. And that's the sort of thing where usually my cynical brain now, after years and years of disappointment, will go, yeah, well, we'd like it to be like that, but it won't be. It'll be rubbish. But you sort of think with DICE, they could do that.
Yeah. On the flip side to that as well, also, I bet you Visceral make the film tie-ins, the game tie-ins to the films.
That's likely.
I bet you they're on that boat as well. And
Yeah.
I bet you they'll be half decent. Nothing amazing, but I bet they'll be
It
all
does
right.
feel like a nice opportunity for EA to actually start making some money again, which they need.
Yep, that's true.
Because I think they've had a rough time, as has everyone.
Yeah.
Should we jump straight to some questions now?
We shall do. Oh, we got one more story that's just coming today with a few scathing quotes that I'd like to read
Okay, go
off.
for it.
This is Patrice Desilets.
Oh, yeah.
Desolate.
Desolator.
Desolate.
Sorry.
What did you call him? Desolates.
No, I didn't. No,
The
we're not doing
Desolate
another
system.
pronunciation thing, Simon.
Get abs in 6 weeks with the Desolate system.
Oh, I desolated my abs 6 times this morning.
The guy that created Assassin's Creed.
Patrice Desolate. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, to be honest.
Well, today, unfortunately, he's been fired from Ubisoft, and Ubisoft released a statement kind of saying that, since the acquisition, some of the discussions have broken down, and unfortunately, Patrice has left the studio. Patrice had slightly different quotes from his point of view. Contrary to any statements made earlier today, this morning I was terminated by Ubisoft. I was notified of this termination in person.
Come with me if you want to keep working on the Assassin's Creed franchise.
Handed a termination notice and was
No, Chris, talk over the music. It'd be amazing.
unceremoniously
can't
escorted
do it.
out of the building by 2 guards without being able to say goodbye to my team or collect my personal belongings.
But just to jump in, this is literally, it is news, but it is no news at the same time. They fell out before. This
Yeah,
is why
well,
he left.
He came back about 2 months ago, I think.
No, he did. Well, basically, yeah, the THQ thing went down. Ubisoft bought THQ Montreal. They segued it into Ubisoft Montreal. And I assume they were still working on 6066, which is Patrice's game. And surprise, surprise, I assume they fell out of exactly the same things why he left in the first place. So he left.
As I always say, there's no beef without cows.
Exactly.
Or, I mean,
whatever that means.
It's sort of like there's no smoke without fire, except it
There's
doesn't
no
make
beef
sense.
without cows. But that's the thing. Like this, it obviously is a big deal, and people are going to report on it. But I'm not shocked. They obviously didn't get on before. Obviously, he had a very, very strong vision for this game.
Well, let's roll back as well. You look at what happened with Vince Zambella and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
The thing with that was not black and white as well. Everyone was like, "Oh, Activision are evil. They fired them, not giving them a bonus." And it ended up looking like, I mean, speculating from outside, that these guys have been talking shit about their employers for a long time, possibly going and having meetings behind their back and doing all this stuff that basically put them in breach of contract. And so they
Fuck
just got to a
VideoGamer
point.
off to GameSpot. Oh no, but I still want all the money. Is that okay?
Well, that's it. It's sort of like, you know, they clearly, it wasn't cut and dry, but they've clearly been dodgy, and their employers found out about it and just went, "You're fired." So it's funny because he's talking shit and being like, "Oh, they've thrown me out. This is outrageous. They've got no leg to stand on." It's like, Ubisoft don't strike me as being the sort of company that will get you forcibly forced out of the building
isn't it?
immediately.
What do you do
without
for
there
that to
being
happen?
something going on?
This is the thing, because when he went back, not really by his own choice, I was like, I don't see how this is going to work, because the whole point of him leaving was he had a very, very strong vision for what he wanted the Assassin's Creed games to be.
Yeah.
And they didn't agree with it, so they split ways. That's cool. That happens in every walk of life. This one must have been much more, what's the word I'm looking for? Not aggressive, but I use that word for lack of a better term, because he was basically forced to go back there. And this is his game, 1666, which Ubisoft bought. And I'm sure, as they're allowed to do, they bought it. They said, no, Patrice, we should try this, we try this. And fair play to him, he's like, no, I've spent 2 years of my life making this, and now you're changing the whole concept. It doesn't surprise me that sparks flew. Maybe he did then see, right, who can I shop it out to? It doesn't surprise me at all, and I think it's a shame. And
Maybe he started deleting the scripts. I don't like it. I'm deleting all the files. I'm deleting it.
I imagine that both parties will have a very, very fair leg to stand on. I think it's a horrible situation for both to be in anyway. A company that you fell out with before gets you back and you fall out with again.
I just think things don't get to that point without, like, you know, it's like when you get that drunk guy walking around the street going, "I've been beaten up. They jumped on me. 6 of them just jumped on me out for no reason." And it's like, well, yeah, you probably called his girlfriend something horrible or tried to throw a punch at him or something. Like there's, you know, that whole, like, "Oh, I don't know why this guy just punched me in the street for no reason." It's always like, yeah, mate, did you try and nick his kebab?
Yeah,
like, you know.
you threatened him with a gun.
Yeah, like there's always more to those stories than meets the eye. But
I think it's a shame. I think 1666 is going to be, if it ever comes out, it's going to be really good.
Oh, I'm excited about it, even though I don't know a lot about it. But you know, now it's over.
It's done. It's over.
What a
6
range
out
of
of 10.
emotions there.
I think I
You went
better
through the whole
leave
thing.
right now.
I think I just went through the 7 steps or whatever, like the Simpsons style.
In a second.
He's wiped away his tears. It's done. But time to bring back some of the tears, actually. I got a few questions on Twitter. The first one I'd like
It's
to
the real news of the day.
ask you, Steve, because obviously the real news
Has
of the
anyone got a
day
violin?
is the king of Manchester United has been slain and by a dragon.
Can I just point out, this is still, every time I hear it, I go, no. I know if you're not into football or sport, you don't care, but this really is a big deal.
It is a big deal for me because I know so little about football that Alex Ferguson is one of the few characters that I
Exactly,
know of.
yeah,
You can
so
grasp
kind of-
onto him.
Yeah,
So now
yeah.
my grasp of the popular culture is becoming increasingly weak.
I'm planning on waking up from this and in probably about 2 or 3 minutes.
But
time.
even I feel like that, and I'm not a United fan. Steve is a hardcore, United fan. I support Arsenal. I love football, but even I feel like I'm going to wake up and obviously he'll still be in charge. He's Alex Ferguson. Doesn't go anywhere.
The news was kind of breaking last night, and there was the rumours, and so I went. It was on my mind. It's actually like on my mind. I was like, oh, no, it can't be.
Right.
I went to sleep, and I woke up, and I when you're half in and out of a dream, and I was like, this terrible dream that Alex Ferguson's going to retire, and then I couldn't believe it.
It's true.
I could not.
And his successor may have been named while we're in this room. David Moyes.
David Moyes. Like David Moyes, think he's a very good manager. And it's kind of going to be make or break. He could go on to be a fan. He could go on to be amazing. It's easy to say, no, I don't want David Moyes because he's a bit unfancied and a bit unfashionable. But he's done great things at Everton. He's got similar values. And if you get Mourinho, I'd love Mourinho because he seems to be the man that can step out from the shadow.
Now, guys, I wasn't supposed
Matt,
to.
You've just
I wasn't.
drifted
I
off
have
So we've
just
ruined the
drifted
question,
off.
haven't
Well,
we?
look, whatever the question
Well,
is,
mate,
it's
football.
I'm upset, and the answer is Jose Mourinho.
Well, I mean, I was going to say that actually I didn't really want to have to discuss it until later because I'm technically under quite a lot of contracts and embargoes, but it's actually going to be me. I'm going to be I'm going to be replacing him. And my first act as the new king of Manchester United is I'm just going to boil it all down into scrap and make a space rocket, right?
Nice.
And that's like Old Trafford, the players, just scrap, all of it.
You'd need it once I
Just
find out about that.
space rocket, moon, right? I'm going to invent moon football. It's going to be like football, but on the moon. And to be honest, I'm just going to sell the rights of that to Sky, and I'm just going to live. I'm going to be king of Earth, really.
It's a lovely promotion you got yourself there, man.
Pretty good, yeah. I mean, I did talk to Tom. Unfortunately, he couldn't match the wage of king of Earth. So
Puts you in a new tax bracket, though.
Yeah.
it's pretty sad. Yeah, the tax is going to be horrendous. Well, that's why I'm going to live on the moon, mate.
No tax on the moon.
It's like Jersey, but better. But no, question we had from the delicious Mr. Joe Screbbles was, what video game developer would be a good replacement for Sir Alex Ferguson?
Jose Mourinho.
Patrice Desolé.
Jose Mourinho is not a video games developer. We've been through this.
He might be.
He's not.
Good.
Name me one game. Come on, somebody else answer it then. You're
Oh.
being silly.
Okay, well,
I guess somebody that works on Football Manager. Is that a bit
Miles
rubbish?
Jacobson.
Yeah.
Sports Interactive.
Yeah.
Do you not reckon like somebody like Randy Pitchford might be a good football manager just because he'd spin the hell out of it?
I think he'd be
afterwards?
good in press conferences. Yeah, I don't know how he'd
Peter
be.
Moore will be good in the press conferences when he has to go on the defensive to defend his team.
Look, I've got a tattoo of a player on my arm.
That's what Alex Ferguson was very famous for. Not the main thing, but Alex Ferguson was very famous.
What's the
for.
next question we have on the Video Gamer podcast?
Let's jump on the next one. Somebody said, with DuckTales and Castle of Illusion getting remakes, this is Chris Williams, asked this, DuckTales and Castle of Illusion getting remakes, what should be the next 16-bit era remake? I say, and he's got this right actually, he says, I say Quackshot. And I'm like,
East-
Yeah, that's a good one.
Eastwatch. Desert Strike.
Did he say 16-bit?
Bam, bam. Yeah. Sorry, I'm just doing the tune from
That's
Desert.
fine. DuckTales wasn't 16-bit, was it?
That's pretty thirsty. Quackshot was probably...
Quackshot was on the Mega Drive, wasn't it?
Yeah, Mega Drive. It was awesome.
But the DuckTales game wasn't on the
DuckTales
SNES.
wasn't. It was 8-bit, wasn't it? He's
Oh,
right.
it's 8-bit. Because if we go into 8-bit, I can say RC Pro-Am.
All right.
I love RC Pro-Am.
Sorry.
I love RC Pro-Am. It's such a good game. And now Rare make weird sports games. They should be making a new one of those.
There's so many
Get
things.
your business
for it.
hat back on, Miller.
In an ideal world, we just have more Viva Pinata. That's all I want in life.
I think they're done with that.
Well, I know.
Yes. I get that
they're
impression.
done.
And you once called it one of the. Wow, what was your drastic quote about Viva Pinata in the
I think
office?
if
Best
Viva-
game.
I think it's one of the
ever.
most important God games ever created.
Yeah, but then he justified it.
Yeah, no,
even I bought into his...
into my
You
madness.
immediately just started
madness,
purchasing Viva
Yeah,
Pinata.
exactly.
Yeah, it's a compelling argument for another time. What we got? Somebody's asked, what do we think of Mars Warlogs? I don't think anyone's.
Is it a
played
video
yet.
game?
It's a
I
sci-fi
can't believe
RPG
that
on
Chris
Mars.
doesn't know about it. Chris knows all this stuff. He
I
loves
should
this
have known
stuff.
it.
Oh, should you? Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sorry.
a sci-fi RPG set on Mars. Quite
Oh,
low
I see,
budget.
right. I've never heard of it. I'm sorry.
No, I hadn't heard. Well, I've heard of it, but I've not played it.
I'm sorry.
I think we need to go on that.
I think we do. And also, somebody has said, have you guys already checked out? This is from Geordie Waters Sabira, which is an interesting name. Did you guys already check out Chasm from Discord Games? It looks promising. And I tell you what, I hadn't checked out Chasm from Discord Games, but I did check it out, and it looks really cool.
What's it on?
It's a PC game.
Right.
It's currently being kickstarted. It's already passed its Kickstarter, so it's definitely getting made.
Congrats,
But it
Chasm.
has 3 days to go, so if you are interested in it, then
Check
check
it
it
out.
out. Because basically, it's a 2D pixely side-scrolling kind of Castlevania type thing where you're
Interesting.
exploring procedurally generated mines and collecting treasure and killing monsters. And I just looked at that and went, that looks like the sort of game I like playing. Especially because they seem to have just stopped making 2D Castlevanias in the same way I used to like them. So yeah, actually, I've never heard of it, but I was really excited by now. So
There you
check it
go.
out. It's Chasm.
Video gamer community on the ball, on the pulse.
ball. They're fucking kicking balls around like nobody's business.
Nice football analogy. I like it. It's good.
Anyone play poker? Poker night games?
Yeah, Dave
yeah.
Scammer was talking about it
Poker Night 2.
last week, how much he loved Poker Night 2.
Yeah, it's supposed to be really cool.
It's
got
really
like,
funny, Claptraps in it and Sam and Max and
and
stuff.
GLaDOS and well, that's come out pretty much nowish. And anyone, Clockpunk asks, what's our favourite iteration of the game on PC or console, and do you play in real life?
This is
Poker games?
Yeah.
Oof, I don't even know. I do play in real life, not very well. I always have to have the rules explained to me before I sit down because I forget. I can't even remember the last. I tell you what, the last poker game I played was the Red Dead Redemption minigame of poker where you could sit down. That's how little I play poker
Simon, we
games.
should play sometime, man.
Yeah, you're probably cool. Yeah, I imagine.
Are you quite good at poker then, Chris?
No, I'm not really. No, I can play Texas Hold'em all right, that's about it.
He's bluffing us.
He's a liar.
He is.
That's a poker thing then.
I can see it in his eyes.
I don't know. What other kind of poker games are there?
I
Texas
think-
Hold'em. Give me another variation. Does anyone know any?
Well, it's just 5-card something.
5-card poker.
Straight,
Five-card
5-card
stud.
strip, studs.
Texas Hold'em. I don't know. I don't play poker. I don't know.
Go,
This is
Jimmy.
not my.
Go, Johnny. Go, 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 go.
That's my favourite version.
It's a great one.
Yeah, that's.
So yeah, no. My answer is just no.
In games, though, I reckon Red Dead is awesome.
I do
Oh,
like
yeah.
the game version in Red Dead. It's run really well.
I remember having an awesome game of poker in Red Dead where it was next to a train track, I think, in a little hut.
Yeah.
And I tied this guy up that I had to kill. And I'd left him on the train tracks. And I'd sat down
Oh, brilliant.
and played some poker
Love it.
until I heard the train coming. And then boomf. And then, yeah, mission accomplished.
Brilliant.
But it was just
Absolutely
like, yeah.
Yeah, I've done it. I have done it.
Dead. I love that game. That's got to be in my top 10.
Oh, dear.
What else we got? Well, one of them from Declan says, how do you feel about the retirement of Sir Alex Ferguson? I think we know that.
Just
Steve's
one word,
been-
Steve.
Gutted.
Oh.
Yeah. I've never heard that word said with such
26
genuine.
years of success. You should be celebrating.
I
his
am.
career.
I'll be celebrating when I'm at the stadium to see the trophy being lifted and all that sort of shit. But then I will do a cry.
I love it. As someone who really thrives on genuine human
Your tears save me.
Yeah, like, I love it. I
Put
love
this glass under your face. I'll
Christ
drink it
and
later.
more.
I love how irrationally upset and angry you've been today.
I'm always quite angry. But
Yeah.
You're like a dog trapped in a fish tank.
I'm actually lobbying to go home for the rest of the week on compassionate
I
leave.
need the week off. I've got to go and cry all of the tears.
We joke, but people will do this. Some people will not go into work tomorrow because of that reason.
Losers.
I remember reading a news story, and it was in the Sun, like hundreds of years ago it seems now. But when it was one of those, it was the middle story, the human interest story, and it was a picture of a Man United fan, and he was looking really glum, like head in hands, and his wife was sitting next to him, looking very stern. And the headline was, "He didn't bat an eyelid when I said I was divorcing him, but when Cantona left, he cried like a baby." And I was like, "I know your pain, friend. I know your pain."
Just be less emotionally involved.
I tried to be
Christ's
emotionally
sake.
detached from everything, but Manchester United is the only thing I've got left, and now it's gone.
No, it's not.
It's not. I'm joking. It's not gone.
Sake. Anyway, let's move on. What's the next
Yeah,
question?
well, that's the end of my Twitter questions. Any from the forum?
I'm not sure that we had any.
Not sure we
I've
looked at the
gotten written
forum.
Down. However,
Blame
from the
brats.
forums,
Yeah,
no,
one
of course.
job, Chris.
Last
You had
night
one job.
we were playing Dark Souls Pantsman live
I
stream.
watched a
which
bit
is
of
my
it. It made
favourite
me
thing.
laugh. It
I
made me
loved
laugh
it.
when some guy hadn't been there for a couple of weeks and he didn't know what Onion Bro was. And you had to break the news to him and he was devastated.
Oh
That's
man,
pretty funny.
I'm so stupid. I wish I hadn't killed the Onion Bro. Everyone hates me now. But I love Pantsman. It's my favourite thing to do. But we started a little hashtag called Blame Chris. Just blaming Chris for
I
everything.
didn't know this. I
Oh,
missed that
Simon
bit.
will
I'm
love
so
this now.
involved. I'm so
That's
involved in Blame
dumb.
Chris.
Why blame Chris when it could be blame Brat?
Oh, you're right.
Blame
Yeah, that's
Brat.
poor.
Ha.
That is poor. We
So
should actually have
you
our own
can't blame me for
podcast
that.
called Blame Brat.
Blame
You
Brat.
could blame him for Ferguson retiring. I could blame from no RC Pro-Am.
I just sit here looking sullen.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, it's great. New feature.
We do have the member of the month competition. Obviously, last week the podcast competition we announced the winner.
Yep.
Which is very cool. This time it's for the kind of community interaction. We have the voting system on the forums.
Yeah. I should probably just mention really briefly what we do is once a month we have Member of the Month. We get 3 prizes, which are provided from the lovely shop2.net. And basically, you can win any game of your choice up to 50 quid, which is, let's be honest, pretty much any game. All you got to do is every month we have a competition where you have to do something slightly skill-based, but usually we try and reward people for being hilariously bad. And then there's also one for every month that people on the forum vote for their favourite person on the forum that month for doing funny things or etc. or posting cool comments. They win a game, and then anybody who votes for somebody is in with a chance of winning a game. So basically, if you haven't signed up to our website yet to post comments on the podcast or anything you like, basically, then you should, because it's a really good chance of actually getting a free game.
The
You can win stuff.
The voting one in particular is the easiest way to win a game ever.
All you have to do is once a month, just send a private message to
Yep.
Chris on the forum. If you want to while you're there, you can also blame him for something in that message. You could maybe, sexually advance towards him in inappropriate ways. You can do whatever you want.
hate this job.
He's like a toy. And then
Did you say I hate this job?
but then you got a chance chance of winning a free game. We'll post it to you. You don't even have to pick it up. You just go, what game do you want? We'll send you a game.
It just turns up.
For the love of
magic.
God. Next month, I want all of you in my office. We're going to sort this out. But yeah, who's won games this month?
The member of the month, the one voted for best community interaction, was Mr. Endless.
Endless. Congratulations, Endless. You won a game.
Woo!
And
And as from the voters, this was completely random, but I do really like this name as well. Dazza Davy.
Dazza Davy.
It's a good name to say, isn't it?
So congratulations to those two people.
Yeah, I'll be in contact with them later today.
If you're listening to the podcast and you're not signed up to VideoGamer.com, just maybe take a moment to feel about how stupid you are and the fact that it could have been you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just ponder into the sky.
And you can even yell at us for the things we've written about or said, and then we'll respond.
That's
yeah,
fun.
you could win a prize just for signing up and calling us idiots
Exactly.
for a whole month.
How good is that?
Which is mental. I'm really angry about that. I'm really annoyed, but that's just the way the world is. But we also have briefly a new competition for next month, which I've just invented in my head.
Right, okay. Oh, God.
So for next month's
scary.
competition, you will need to find the thread on the forum, which probably won't be hidden terribly well. And I want to know what the next Xbox looks like. Now, obviously,
I like that.
the end of this
That's good.
competition will probably be after they actually show us what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks away, everybody.
2 weeks away.
2 weeks away.
So I want to know what it looks like. And I want you to draw me a picture, either using pens and pencils and papers or just MS Paint.
Bit of glitter, perhaps.
Bit of glitter, glue, whatever you like. I don't want to know anything about it. I
Just what it
don't
looks
want
like.
any specifications. I don't want anything. I just want to see what it looks like.
And if anyone wants to design it like Homer Simpson's made-up car, I would be against that. Just saying.
Do whatever you want. If you need to have a couple of details, little annotations explaining some of the features, then that's fine. But just draw me what I just want to see the future. So if you could do that. And actually, as it went down so well last time, do enter, because at the very least we'll probably put together a kind of heart style gallery showcasing the best ones. So even if you're worried that yours is so rubbish that you're just going to get laughed out of town, at least let us laugh you out of town.
Exactly.
In the form
With you.
of beautiful video
Yeah,
and
yeah.
laugh with you and enjoy this beautiful moment.
Exactly.
So you've got a month to do that. So get on the forums and start posting absolute nonsense.
Show us the future.
Show us the future, for the love of God, so we can change the future.
Yeah.
It's not too late.
Although it probably will be by the time the competition finishes.
Yeah, it probably will be. Unfortunately. But I think that's about it for this week. Any last business, sirs?
No, I'm all businessed out. It's time to go and reflect on the day as we embrace the rest of it.
Oh, that's cool.
Wow. That's,
It's quite beautiful, isn't it? I
Yeah,
made it off the
coffee.
top of my head.
I might get them embossed on a diary. It's beautiful, Simon. You touched me.
No problem.
Thank you very much for listening once again. My name is Matt Lee. It's been joined by Chris Bratt,
Yep.
Simon Miller,
Yo.
and Steve Burns.
See ya.
Bye.